welcome. Thank you for being here for round 2 of the Q&As. We appreciate you
For
so
having
much.
me. Thank you very much.
I like this film is just absolutely stunning. Like
Thank you.
when I saw it the first time, I was like, I was just like, this exists, you know? It was just incredible. And it's part of the reason why we also wanted to make this festival too, is because as a Caribbean person, and as a Caribbean filmmaker myself, there was so many films that I didn't even know existed, and so many and stuff that I just started to be like, I would see it and I'd be like, nah, people in St. Vincent need to see this. And that's why initially our plan was, when we were going to have the physical festival, for this to open the festival. We wanted this film to be the opening night film, because I know people would just love it. And I think you've done such an amazing job of making it action filled and fun, and it keeps you there emotionally. And you also have all of these incredible messages that are in there, a little bit about what you talked about in the previous Q&A. So just to get us started, in case there are people here who didn't watch the first series of films, just like tell us in general, just recap the overall theme, the overall idea about why you wanted to make this film. You said it's kind of like a warning.
Yes, it's we are at beginning of the the fourth industrial revolution, and it's going to change a lot because this is going to be the domination of AI. I believe that we are globally we are really too close from the computer. We are not cautious enough, and because it's really uh, something that we see the wonderful side, but we don't see the dangerous side. And the problem is that it's going to change everything. So the film, it's about that too, about the fact that we are so close to technology that we are going to lose our own identity, and everything can happen after that. And it's also a reminder for everything that happened in the past can happen in the future too, if we don't learn the lesson of the past. Because we really we we go through our life, and with a part in a part of our life, we believe that that history is going in one direction and we are not going back. But from what we are seeing in everything, in right for minorities, right for women, right for children, and in everything, it's always this back and forth, and every generation has to fight really often for the same battles that their their parents had to go through. And so this film was a way for me to warn people the future may not be as rosy and beautiful as we think, and a lot of things are going to happen. Some things have already started, like the impact of this revolution over uh, people's jobs, uh, about the labor market. And I think that it's going to go worse and worse. And we will have to find solution that we never thought about before. And the film was exploring this side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is such an important and profound message, because there does seem to be this sort of cyclical pattern to things that occur. And and with each technological advancement, it always seems to kind of open this kind of chasm, this potential for this huge danger, you know, and that those are kind of these dualities that kind of coexist and they make up the world, right? Like you have this technology and it has the capacity to make our lives better, but it also has the capacity to bring about this great destruction and to be used in an oppressive way. And you kind of see that with the symbolism in the firebird.
Yeah.
I won't try to say it in French. Oh,
It's
embarrassing.
it's the same as
The firebird. And it's like the tool that, depending on whose hands it goes into, the outcome is very different,
yeah.
right? So I think that is such a profound and important message. We've already seen the ways that algorithms are influencing our politics. We know what happened with Cambridge Analytica and all of these things, right? So,
Yes.
and we are very much in the nascent stages of really coming to grips with what this means. And I think that the way that the film, the way it delivers that message, I think is really profound as a sort of like, you know, dystopian sci-fi, as also as Afrofuturist film. Um, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, you know, there's certain ways that you kind of implant, there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of references to mythology and a lot of, you know, these kinds of things in there, which make the film so rich and so dense. And, you know, and in terms of like, you signify the fact that, okay, although this is happening in, you know, 100 years in the future, there's all of these things that remind us of what has happened in the past. Like when her memory is wiped the first time and she forgets that she's a queen, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And she says history is written by the victors. Well, we in the Caribbean, we know about this, right? And it's very interesting so much when you think about what they did to Africa specifically, right? And changing that narrative and making people literally forget that no, Black people were kings and queens and incredibly civilized, right? So all of that is in there, and Letha even says, I woke up here thinking these was our saviors, you know, and that's another way of how this function of who wins controls the narrative. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, there's some incredible imagery in here. Visually, it's so stunning. The compositions, the colors, like, where did all of this come from? You know, did you just, is it like you have a dream and then you're just, you know, where do these incredible, even, you know, that the thing that they use, the battering ram to knock down the door, you know, and they have the rings around, all of these details are so incredible. Like, what is your process like? Where do these images come from?
There's multiple origin for everything. For example, the ring was more about mythology and folklore and belief, because the Ouroboros, if people know a little bit of spirituality, know that it's already a symbol of rebirth that is really, really old. So it was also to represent that. There's a lot of representation of mythology in the film, in the name of the places where they fight, where they fight. Even the name of the characters are sometimes related to the history. But broadly, I wanted to build two world and two type of characters, and two type of settings. I really wanted to oppose the people who believe that they are born this way and they're going to stay this way, and the people who believe that they can take control of their destiny. And so, excuse me. So that really inspired me to create different places. And about the mythology, for example, the first place, the first arena where Sienna fight, after she was made a slave. It's Sadal Sud, that is also the name of a star, and it's also mean a black warrior. And every place has it's a kind of initiation when she goes from the moment when she use weapons that force her to call um, gods from Greek mythology, and she goes more and more into her own past, and she finds out the firebird, she start calling back her ancestors. I really wanted the film to be this initiation when she goes back to the roots of her culture, and this is what motivated every single places. Um, Generally, every place is related to one step, one step of her journey. For example, the very last arena, it's Antares. That is also it was a very bad. It was seen in ancient time as a bad star. It was a star of bad omen for the people. So I really wanted to take this and use it there. And
Amazing. I think that that really adds to the strength and the depth of the storytelling that you're doing here, you know, because I kind of got that feeling. It's like some films you get that feeling where you're like, ooh, I want to look that up. Like what I feel like that's on purpose, because when I was watching it as well, I was like, I wonder what that means. Like, you know, the style of the filmmaking, the depth to it, it makes you feel like none of the things that you've chosen is arbitrary, that you've thought through. And you know, I wanted to ask, like, Sabor Rev, what does that mean? Does that mean anything specifically?
Sabarev is it was a kind of idealistic representation of what Martinique could be if it was thinking out of the box. Because in Martinique we don't project ourselves in the future. It's not in our culture to think about the future. And I believe that it's probably one of the first science fiction film made there, because it's really not. France, for example, project themselves in the future, but not us. We follow, but we never imagine. We go through, for example, there's election. The mandates will last probably 4 years or 5 years. So people are going to project themselves in 4 or 5 years, but never 50 years ahead. And so I wanted to create a sort of new environment when people were suddenly thinking about the future, thinking about what they wanted to do, their place, and what they could contribute to. And even the shape of the city built with spheres and cubes, to show that the materialistic side mixing with the spiritual side. It was really an idealistic way to envision Martin.
Mm. See, that's see, that was what I was picking up on. Like, you can tell, like, this shape is purposeful, you know.
Yeah.
There's a
Yes.
reason why this is like this, you know.
Yeah.
um it's fantastic, because what it does is it keeps, as a viewer, it keeps you kind of constantly engaged and asking questions, you know. um and I think also, in terms of the strength of the imagery and of the animation, you know, the way that Mortemont is represented, you know, when you see the buildings, it's very reminiscent of sort of like Nazi imagery, and their symbol being this upside down cross, you know, sort
Yeah.
of the kind of antichrist. And they really just embody everything that is that is the darkness, right? That threatens to take over in all of these ways, the colors, the, and even the fact that they have to sacrifice someone they love in order to become one of the army. All of these things really build up this sort of dark character. And like alternatively, I also loved the use of the madras fabric so talk a little bit about when that appears and why that appears.
In Martinique, we use the madras. It's one of the fabric, the fabric that represents the island, and it's also a fabric that was brought by the Indian culture of Martinique, because the African part of Martinique was brought by slavery, but the Indian, they came right after slavery because the former slave didn't want to work with the master. And so they brought a lot of things because slaves were not allowed to have luxury, or to have jewels, or to have beautiful fabric. So when abolition happened, they had nothing. They had no all their cultural past was completely gone for this aspect. And the Indian brought a lot of things, and among those things was madras that became a very strong part of the identity of Martinique. And I really felt that it was not possible to represent a Martinican leader without this representation, because that is something that is really important for our culture.
So speaking of leaders as well, there's a lot of strong women in this film and strong female characters. Why did you think that was important to make some of these characters female?
Martinique is really different from France. I mean, even if it's a part of France, Martinique culture is really apart from France in the fact that it's not matriarchal, but it's matrifocal. It's really close to matriarchal, and the woman figure is really the strongest part of the society. And when I grew up, it was natural for me, so I didn't really realize, I couldn't compare with the rest of the world. But when I went to United States and Canada and France, it was really a very, very great contrast. And I think that it's one of the it's a part of the identity of the island to have this strong woman. And so I wanted to represent this aspect in the film. And story-wise, women are very interesting in a story, in the fact that the spectrum of possibility, of emotional possibility, is bigger than men. So I really enjoy using women in film, because they can do much more, and they are more unpredictable, and I really like that. So
That's so interesting.
That's for me.
That's fantastic. Well, I can think, one of the other reasons why we wanted to show it as the opening night film when it was going to be a physical festival was precisely because of this, because I thought how incredible for people to see these powerful women who are leaders, who are queens, who are fighters, who are the ones who kind of are the moral compass, And of course, it's not that men can't be these things, but we know that disproportionately the representation is lacking, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, that's definitely an amazing gift. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
I also wanted to ask in terms of the production process, because I've worked a lot in documentary, you know, it's a very different type of process, you know.
Yes.
I don't even know where do you begin with like with animating something like this?
Um, the first part is really similar to every film. So you have the story. So you create the script. But after that, it's really it's really go sideways compared to a normal film, because um, the script is the beginning. It's a basis. It's a foundation, but it's not something that is really final. So the film is going to keep evolving in the following step. The storyboard will bring something else, because you are going to have a sense of space and time, and this sense of space and time is going to redefine some part of the script that were not dynamic enough. After that, there is the animatic, that is we're going to take every picture of the storyboard and put them in an editing program, and see what the film is going to be. And that is also going to redefine the film. After that, the film, I don't say the film is over, but it's almost that. We make the editing of the film before creating the shots. So we really need to have a sense of what is going to be. And when the animatic is finished, we can start creating the shot and working on the details. It's a
Right,
very long process, but
right.
yeah.
Because you don't want to be spending all that time animating and putting in all these details for stuff that you might later on cut out.
Yeah, yes, because animation, we really create everything that we need, but not 1 second more. And and in live action, we shoot a lot, and
Yeah.
we cut, but in animation, we really create everything we need, just that. So we need to know exactly what is going to be. So we need to create the film. We are kind of blind when we create the film, when we are creating the film, because the animation is not done. When you see the animatic, there's there's a picture of the storyboard, but it doesn't move. So you have to make the character move in your brain for every shot. It's a particular, it's a very special exercise. You get used to it
Yeah,
when you do it twice or 3 times, but
yeah.
in the beginning, it's really different from live action.
Why did you choose animation? Why for you is this your format?
Um, I was drawing since the age of 3, and I start writing stories when I was 7. So I was really I really spent my childhood in creating stories. And when I was 18, it was natural for me to go and in a school that would allow me to keep doing this. um, I never really questioned an animation, because it was the most accessible. It was the most impactful too, because I saw a lot of animation film and animation series when I was a kid. Some of them were really um, it were really incredible, um, like like the film Akira. that really changed it blew my mind. And to see this at a very early age, that really give you the feeling that everything can be told in animation. It's not only something for children. And I really liked it. I really like this way of expressing myself. I I love the medium before knowing about all the difficulties and all the process.
Sometimes
Uh,
that's good, right? Because sometimes you're
yeah,
like, maybe I never would have done this if I knew.
exactly. Yeah, because it's really, you really have to dive into every film not knowing what it's going to be. It's a leap of faith. Yes, there are really um, easier ways to to create, but I like this one. Yes, I've been in animation for 20 years, and I
Yeah,
definitely like the feeling of giving life to pictures.
amazing. That's a beautiful way of saying it, giving life to pictures. And I feel like every time you kind of come through that moment of, um, oh wow, what have I gotten myself into here? Every time you come through that, you come through and you're like, oh, I'm stronger than I thought, or I could dig deeper than I thought. So it's good in a sense that sometimes we're thrust into these things by our passions.
Yeah.
um we have some really nice comments coming in from the audience. Jamon Bergen says that the change of tone from the pilot, as you saw the pilot as well, which was made after, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The change of tone was drastic, but amazing nonetheless. And it is telling that every aspect of the film is intentional. And Via Straw says that she loves the different references to mythology and lore of different cultures and civilizations. The Judith and Holofernes one was a personal fave of hers. I missed that one actually. See, everyone's gonna connect with different things too, which is amazing because it makes it like a complex, exciting text. Um, Question from Rory. He noted that he loved the use of the biblical references in the film. Was the purpose of this to educate viewers about Christianity?
Christianity, when we speak of Christianity with Black history, it's really something tricky. Uh, in Martinique, Christianity, well, the religion and spiritual aspect played a very, very strong role in slavery because it's allowed slavery to happen. It's allowed the church to take control of the island, to get rid of some population too, because there were two tribes that they decimated. And they took control of most of the faith that came in the island, because the slaves were baptized, and even the Indian who came after the abolition, there has been kind of war between the church and them, for them to embrace the Catholic Church. However, it's really difficult to speak about the history of Martinique um, through this animation without speaking about the role of the Catholic Church, because they were a big part of who we are today. There is also another group that really played a strong role. It's the Freemasonry, because like the church, they were on the island from the beginning, from the arrival of the French there. And they really shape our destiny through our entire history. And it was I did not want to put Freemasonry and priests, so I tried to melt both in the part that in the part of history where they were kind of united. So the age of the Templars. So I took this age of Templars, and I put a Templar character in the film to represent that. So I cannot say that they've been all bad or all good, because um, there has been time when they were okay. There has been time when they were despicable. They evolved, and so I wanted to represent that. And
I think that history shows us that there is always an arm of maybe, every organized religion that becomes oppressive. And, there are also people within that organized religion that don't identify with those models of oppression as well. So, but, in terms of our Caribbean history, like, I think it's something that's important to think about, how religion and imperialism, the legacy of those things and the impact of those things. And I think particularly, well, I know in St. Vincent there isn't that much dialogue around it. And I'm particularly interested in as well. Well, I was going to say amnesia, memory loss, historical memory loss, which is a theme here, which is alluded to a lot of times in relation to, what has happened in the past.
yes, that is a strong thing in Martinique, because the French has a very different way to deal with things than the English. The French are into they they appear to be softer, but they are working in a very, very deep layer. They try to erase history, so there is a lot of archives that have disappeared. They prevented people to learn their history, to learn the language, to learn a lot of things. And for example, I learned my history. I learned Black history when I was 24, when I was not in school anymore, and that is still the case for a lot of children in Martinique. So I didn't know a lot, and even today there are some march, there are some movements in Martinique, and we are not really sure. We still have to call historian to know exactly what happened, because we have a so small knowledge of our general history that is difficult for us to even embrace some of the fights that some people do. And this aspect was very important to me, because I went through it. I had to learn my history myself. What I learned at school was that France was wonderful. It was they saved us. So they were really, really fine. But in the end, it was not the case, and there were a lot of things to learn. What is important is that when you learn your history, you can develop new solution that works more efficiently. And in a dynamic like Martinique and France, it can even be something interesting for France. Maybe some of the solutions that are going to be created will be interesting for France too. But France don't allow this space to appear, and I really wanted to represent that, because that is something that really affects everybody on the island.
Absolutely. Because in some senses, we've come so far, right? Like, but in other senses, these legacies are still remaining and they're still active, right? And I mean,
Yes.
you see it, for example, I think, for example, when the royal family come to visit St. Vincent, and everybody is just like so happy and so excited. And I have always found that it's always been very interesting to me, because I'm like, okay, what's happening here? And here's another form of the mythology that's attached to this family, and
Yeah.
how powerful. And because they won, so to speak, right? um and then they managed to transition to the Commonwealth, right?
Yeah.
So that in some senses, like, it's films like this and hopefully festivals like this that can kind of try to, like, you know balance out the perspective a bit more, and kind of, and like you say, it's not it's extremely important, because knowing what has really happened in the past, it enables us to actually understand where we are and create solutions, right? Imagine a different reality for ourselves and our communities. So I think waking up and this kind of awareness and the power of art to do that, to evoke those things, is really amazing. And your contribution to that is incredible. So thank
Thank you.
you for that. Um, um, got a lot of comments here. Question from Future Smith. He loved the ambition and scope of the story and the animation within the film. Is there going to be any more work within the Battledream universe? And any advice on world building fantasy stories for film?
Um, is there going to be yes, because the film was conceived as a trilogy, so it was supposed to be the first chapter. Obviously, there is a lot of obstacle to create the two others, even coming from the island, because when I've been searching for budgets and financing for 3 or 4 years, and it's really difficult, even from Martinique. It's really difficult to get some money to make the film, so it's slower to get done. But there's going to be more. There's going to be more. Um, the story was an excuse to explore Martinique history. So in the first film, we see the slavery part, when Martinique was enslaved, and but there's more thing that happened after the abolition. Very interesting things, and I want to make a film about that. And there is also the very last part of our history, from the Second World War up to now. So there's a lot of things that I still have to tell from from this universe.
Well, I can't wait. And I think I was just thinking about, um, you know, teenagers or young adults or people who, I think that this is such a powerful format to even, like, I was always just surprised, like, that history class had this reputation for being boring. I was like, if you know, and just like what the stuff that has happened, it's crazy. Like, how could
Yeah,
this be boring? And I think you just insane stuff has happened. And I think that so then it just comes down to, like, the method of relaying that information that for some reason has become boring. But films like this, in some kind of radical imagination of rethinking these really rigid education systems that we have. If I were to build a school, I'd be like, let's watch this film and discuss it. Like, what can we learn about Martinican history, Caribbean history from something like this? And I bet you they wouldn't say it's a boring class if they got to watch this film.
and in a way, for example, the Japanese animation, a lot of a lot of series are about the history of Japan, and people don't even realize that. They just watch it. And for example, there's a very famous series called Naruto, and a lot of people don't even know that there's a lot of history, Japanese history in this. And so it's a very powerful medium to explain to people what a culture is and why do they think this way, and so
Definitely. Absolutely.
it's really powerful.
A question from Rory. He says, you were ahead of the game with this movie. Shows such as The Social Dilemma on Netflix demonstrate how we're already being controlled and influenced by technology and social media. He goes on to ask, do you feel that the animations coming out now do enough to warn viewers about the increasing dangers in our society?
I'm going to say yes, but at the same time, there is so much.
Yeah.
There's a so big quantity of media that it's really difficult to consume everything, and we are generally the less interesting are generally the most vocal. So the first product that you are going to see are not going to be falsely what is going to warn you or educate you. So I think yes, there's a lot of there's a wealth of animation that is going to warn us, that really a lot of cautionary tales. However, we really have to dig. And one thing that I notice nowadays, because I teach to kids too, and sometimes I see that they don't want to dig anymore. They're just going to take what is presented to them, but this research to find what is good, it's going. It's not really as they are not as curious as the previous generation. So this is this is the problem. But the wealth of media is already there. Yes.
Yeah. And that's interesting because some people would say, okay, maybe that's a byproduct of, growing up with cell phones and Instagram and all these
I
things.
think so, because we've been used to be presented everything, and we are more into trends, and we go from trends to trend to trend, and we take less time to explore deeper things, and it's a shame.
It's great. The audience are noting how the film reminds them of Akira, which was a very serious film. They say they saw similarities with your film and the Akira scope in terms of the depth of the story and not shying away from heavy topics. Well, that's a huge influence for you, that film.
Yes, I saw it when I was 14. It really changed my life because there was a way that I consider animation before, and after that, it was really it was a transformation, because
One of those
that
moments.
was a moment when I realized that animation was not it was not only a genre, it was not only something for kids, it was really a way to express myself.
Yeah, yeah. Beth asks, you mentioned Japan, and she was reminded of the Japanese dystopian horror film Battle Royale when watching Battledream Chronicle. Did that serve as an inspiration?
It was not an inspiration, but I was impacted by this film.
Yeah.
So I
I
believe
got to
that
see that film.
I believe that there was a bit of that. This death match where everybody dies. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I wanted to. I I fight a lot to create stories that are not predictable. And one of the way to make sure that it's not too predictable is to really mimic life. And if a character has to die, to make them die. But make them die in a respectful way, but not shy away from giving to some character some death in order to surprise the viewers,
Right.
because well, it's a richer story.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you can't really talk about colonialism without talking about death, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because that was the death of so much indigenous
Eh,
cultures, African civilizations. Sometimes when I'm thinking about colonial history, I was like, was that actually just the end of the world? And now we're living in some post-apocalyptic, because if you were living through that, you'd be like, oh, this is it. This is the
yeah.
end. Like unimaginable horror, you know? So so yeah, it makes total sense that death, is a part of this film. Um, and not only just death, but people being pitched against each other, in this way.
Yes.
Um, Nicola Hunt asks, in one of the scenes, the teacher mentions that humans are slaves to the digital. Is part of the reasons humans retreat to the digital the polluted environment? And what balance is being established in this universe between the digital and the physical environment with climate change?
The film is really dystopian in this way, because I really, for this film, I really saw humans are not going to save the world. They're just going to take the easy route, that is going to live in the computer.
Yeah.
I didn't know about this project of mapping the brain in a computer yet, and the transhumanists, they didn't talk a lot about them yet. But I really saw, given given the response of the the, the nation, the politic people, the global powers, I didn't think that they were going to do something. They would focus on making more money, more to maintain more power, and if they had the possibility to go in a very in a very safe world, even if it was completely dematerialized, they would do it. Probably not our generation, but I believe that, well, with 2 or 3 generations, they would succeed to make people embrace the idea of completely embracing this new life, um, because that is really the easy way. And well, for what we've seen so far, they've been really eager to take the easy way. And so that's why in the film we see all this technology. We see those people living in fantastic cities that fly in the sky, but at the same time, when they go back on Earth, we see this kind of desert-like place, and it's really not a human place to live. And it didn't exist back in the day when I made the film. It was not already the case, but right now in Martinique, we have some days the weather is like this. So we can't see very far. There is this sand, this
Sahara dust? Is that
yeah,
I
yes,
think they
yes,
call it in Simmons? Yeah.
yeah, and we can't see anything, and it's really look like the film, exactly like the film. So,
Wow. Yeah, it is a bit scary to think about. Not just a bit, my gosh, it's
yeah,
downplaying it. It's absolutely terrifying it's, I think, an unprecedented existential threat, isn't it, to us? Maybe similar to something, maybe the Cold War, in terms of
Yeah.
like global kind of catastrophe in that way. Um, but I mean, do you think that we'll get to the point where, we're downloading our consciousness into microchips and living in a digital space?
I think that if they use the right marketing, mm, yeah.
We'll buy anything, right?
uh, I think it's not the right way. I really believe that we should remain. I believe that there is more to our DNA that we think. It's not only an assembly. There's more than this. I believe there is uh, in terms of energy, there is something that is more than just matter. So I don't think that when we're going to go into this digital world that we're going to be the same. And teleportation so far is just a destruction of the original um, to recreate a copy. So it's not really, even if well, it's
Wait,
not
tell
really
us about
working on an ethical
teleportation.
point.
People are trying to teleport?
Yes, actually, well, not people, but they succeed to teleport matters, and they succeed to teleport metal. But every time it's about destroying the original and recreating the copy in the same time. So if there is a
Yeah,
consciousness, it's not going to remember that it was destroyed, but at the same time, it's not the same person. I
right.
don't know how the ethical thing is going
Seems
to be
like a
fixed. I don't
landmine.
know even what to think about it, but I believe that they are going to, because, for example, Mark Zuckerberg is already working on a project to succeed to implant pe people in AI or in computers. There's other
Who is,
companies that
sorry,
are.
you cut out there a bit. Who is working on that?
Mark Zuckerberg,
Oh, right,
who's
implant people.
the head of Facebook,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people are already working to get the brain in the computer, and there has already they already had mouse and tablet that can be moved by the brain. They already had this technology, so they're moving in this direction, and I believe that, that unfortunately they're going to succeed to sell it. And I don't know exactly what the response of the world is going to be, but for sure, um, giving this to the people is going to be a way for them to avoid dealing with the problem of climate change. Because I believe that they're going to think that if we get people into computers, people are not going to pollute the world anymore. So we're going to solve
Wow.
um, two problems. And
And create 50
unfortunately,
more problems, maybe.
so
Wow.
it's complicated because there's a lot happening. A lot of what I talk in the film is already happening. There are people that are funding billions for this to happen, and that's not something that we want to see. I think a dystopia is definitely not what we want to experience. So
I think that we don't.
that's
And
regard.
I think, it's part of the incredible capacity of human beings. Like, we are, you know, us fascinating, spectacular phenomenon, like
Yeah.
I'm always just like, wow, what, what have we made, like this is insane, so we have this incredible capacity to invent and reinvent and create, and it's incredible. But it's almost like sometimes that drive, we haven't learned how to not yet necessarily be our own enemies within that, and we haven't learned necessarily how to like build in what is it, maybe like an ethical reflection on these things before we just throw them out into the world, like, okay, maybe we should have a list of cons as well as the pros. um but oh, a few people are asking, they want to know where they can get a poster like yours.
Oh. I can try to get them. I can. Well, there's no place to buy it, but email me, and I'm going to see what I can do.
Amazing, that would be great. I want one too. That's so awesome. What do you think, like, do you have like 3 top animation films that you're just like, everyone should watch these films?
Oh, I have a lot of films.
Okay, we can
I
say
could- um, 3 is difficult. I'm going to say that all the films from Satoshi Kon, Perfect Blue, Paprika, all,
How do you spell that? Sato?
Satoshi Kon, Kon.
Okay.
He passed away, but he was creating incredible animation films that are incredible, and he has inspired Hollywood movies too. I believe that probably Hayao Miyazaki, because well, everybody knows that, and Mamoru Osoda. He made Am and Yuki, Wolf Children. I don't know the English name. But, oh, and I'm a very, very big. I really love the film of Makoto Shinkai. He made oh my god. He made so many films, but I forget the. But it's really poetic. It's really modern. It's well done. He has a. To me, he really made. He really pushed the emotional impact the furthest. Because when you watch his film, it's really, when the character is hurt, you really feel hurt, and it's really well done.
Yeah, I mean, they say that emotional involvement is key in storytelling, like,
yeah,
if you watch a film that doesn't kind of reach into you a little bit and make you be like, ooh, or like, or come on, then you leave thinking, oh, maybe that wasn't such a great film because I didn't really feel moved. It didn't bring me in. But that's fantastic.
yes,
I'm gonna check out those recommendations.
Yeah, because when you watch a film and you remember the film emotionally, you do remember what happened in your brain, you remember what happened in your body, because emotion creates a lot of chemical reactions, and so it's a way to remember in every fiber of yourself what happened, and that's the reason why when nothing is happening in the film, when there is no emotion involved, it's really difficult to remember.
It's true, actually, yeah.
What happened.
So you said that you started writing when you were 7.
Yeah. Yes.
What was the first story that you wrote?
The first story I I wrote was based on the Bible, actually, because I was really well, it's a Christian family, but I was inspired by um, how do by the Apocalypse, by the Revelations, and so I really like this. It was really these battles, these things, those beautiful visions. That was what that's really sparked my interest. So I really spent probably 3 years trying to picture that in stories and imagining how that would happen. And
Wow.
after that, I moved to all the kind of story. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. That's good. Just thinking about a 7-year-old just being like, how do I, it's incredible. You can see that it was sort of some just very innate for you to like pick up on, and then just being inspired by what was firsthand. And of course, like, the Bible is so full of symbolism, and it's one of the most powerful collection of stories that has ever existed, and it's absolutely fascinating. And I think for a while, when I was sort of thinking about the things that had happened, like that you were mentioning before, I would kind of avoid, I think that the Bible has a lot to offer in terms of a story, in terms of a collection of powerful stories, and what it has, done in the world. It's kind of a phenomenon in a lot of ways. And that's interesting to hear that you were kind of grappling with that as a kid. Did you like write stuff down and then you take it to your family, and did you show anyone what you wrote, or?
Yes, I was showing. Yes, I remember that after that, I was making stories that were more close to comic books, and I was trying to sell them too. And so I was really, really into creating stories and creating comics, and
just selling them to your friends at school or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. How did your business go?
Not really great, but well, some people are both.
The supporters.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. It's been about an hour. Just want to thank you so much, on behalf
Thank
of the
you. Thank you.
festival.
I'm really,
It's been
really
such a pleasure
really
to
happy.
speak with you. And your work is so inspiring and so important. So I hope that, it's, that it's worth it, because you're inspiring a lot of people, and this kind of stuff needs to be made. It needs to be in the world. So, we appreciate you so much.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and it's a great honor to be there.
And can't wait to see, the other chapters and the rest of the stuff.
Yes, actually, I'm I'm making my second feature film. Not the same universe, but it's going to be released. I hope at the end of this year. So, uh, so normally I'm going to get back very very soon with a new film.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Thank you so much.